Are you happy to tell us a bit about your first appointment and how it went and the process of what's led to today?
Sure. I was very anxious,
Okay.
and a bit cynical, and thought, it's a very nice website, it's a very nice clinic, the testimonials were good. But when I arrived, and Mark was so kind, and he listened and asked me about symptoms, and I'd had rather strange symptoms because my depression was in the winter. It was kind of seasonal. It was like the clocks changed. October, I went into depression. In the spring, I came up again, and that was a real shock. And he listened and he said, well, that is, it's unusual, but it's not something that we can't treat. And so he just he just made me feel relaxed and hopeful. When I asked for the medication that I'd researched and particularly wanted to take for severe depression, which is lamotrigine, and I'd known someone else who'd had a really good effect with this medication, and he said, let's try it. He really does try and work with you on the medication. He doesn't just say, as other psychiatrists said, no, you're going to take this, and basically don't tell me what you want, this is what you're going to do. And that just made me more anxious and, struggle. And so this was great. Mark listened, and I was incredibly anxious, and I said, I've researched that you can't take it at once, it can cause this. And so he listened. He said, actually, there's no reason why you can't start taking a high dose. But he listened to me, and gradually we built it up. And in the end, it took a while, but in the end, it really started to work. And the other thing is, when I saw Mark, he didn't just prescribe, it was kind of therapeutic as well. Because again, he listened, he reassured me. He didn't say this is going to work instantly. He was very, very realistic.
Okay.
And it has been ever since. And I've kind of got my life back and said, this is really different. This is not like any doctor or psychiatrist. The name psychiatrist is quite scary as well. And Mark just kind of, again, goes against what you imagine a psychiatrist to be, quite scary and quite judgmental. And so, yeah, I've recommended people, and I still come to see Mark, and will carry on doing so. The difference with Mark and this clinic is that after my first appointment, for example, he emailed a couple of weeks later to see how I was doing. And if I have any worries, I can email Mark and say, look, I'm feeling a little bit, what would you recommend? And he'll come up with a suggestion, which is really helpful, because it feels like he cares, and he does. I'm not just another number, not just another patient, and that's what's special about this clinic. So yeah, I'd always recommend it.
Are you happy to discuss any of your negative experiences before you came to the Blue Tree Clinic?
Well, I had been to see GP, 2 or 3 different psychiatrists, and when you're feeling very anxious and depressed, everything scares you and you lose confidence, and I was sort of like a little snail without its shell. And the psychiatrists that I saw were really quite arrogant and didn't listen, and just said, well, just take this medication, and all the evidence suggests. And if I dared to sort of say, well, I've actually researched this and I don't think that that's right, he said, actually they said they would get really angry and say, no, this is what I prescribe. And so I would go away in tears and not take anything and so not get better. And of course, when you can't sleep, which is a side effect of anxiety, I mean, really not sleep. And I went to the GP and, you know, she suggested kind of, I don't know, calms, those little things that you buy, and natural herbal and chamomile tea, and take a good walk. And, you know, that's not helpful. So I was really floundering. And so little things like that are just more caring, that Mark listens and suggests things that really work. And that's why I really feel kind of safe here. So for example, one psychiatrist who I went to, and incredibly expensive and very, very arrogant. And I said, look, you know, I've been suffering from very severe depression and very severe anxiety, and for a long time. And he said, well, I'm the best, you know, the gold standard is lithium, because that really, really, you know, cures depression. And I said, well, you know, I don't want to take it because I've only got one kidney. And he said, well, just go on dialysis. And I was so shocked to just like say go on dialysis, as if that was something really easy, if this incredibly strong drug didn't work, which of course is, you know, for some people it's a lifeline, but for me it was absolutely not the right thing, and I'm so glad that I didn't listen. And you see a lot of people, when they're suffering from whatever mental health problem, will be scared and do what the doctor says. I mean, luckily I have a background of research, and so I don't give up, even though I was very ill.
What advice would you have for somebody who is maybe thinking about booking into the Blue Tree Clinic?
Well, I'd say really have a go. Go in for an assessment, meet Mark. Look, it's not cheap, but kind of what price your health and your mental health. Your mental health will affect everything, your work, your relationships, your whole life. And believe me, there are, if you shop around for other psychiatric help, there's a lot much more expensive. So actually, it's very reasonable. You know, I won't lie, it is expensive, but it's worth it.